What's up guys, Mike here, the Detroit Borg, back again to end the year with my top 5 smartphones of the year. Now these are phones I would gladly use day to day because they have excellent cameras, displays, battery, and software. And since these are my personal preferences, these may not be the best phones for you, but I definitely think they are worth your consideration. Now these are arranged in no particular order, so let's get started with the Moto X Pure Edition. Now this is the least expensive phone on my list at $399 and is easily the best value in smartphones today with a huge 5.7-inch Quad HD LCD IPS display that really stands out for its sharpness and brightness. We also get a very capable 21 megapixel camera on the back and a 5 megapixel camera on the front. The rear camera isn't the best on my list, but its performance is excellent in good lighting with 4K video recording. Battery life is also solid at about 4 hours of on-screen time at maximum brightness. The phone is also packing a Snapdragon 808 hexa-core CPU with 3 gigs of RAM to keep everything running smoothly. And thanks to Motorola's commitment to a near-stock Android experience, the phone has already been updated to Android 6.0 and runs about as smoothly as a Nexus phone. We also get expandable storage thanks to a micro SD card slot integrated into the SIM slot. It's also the only phone on this list that can be completely customized at the factory with countless configurations. We also have a set of front-facing stereo speakers, making it one of the best sounding smartphones on my list along with the Nexus 6P. The only thing this phone is lacking is a fingerprint scanner, but is otherwise an outstanding phone, whether you're on a budget or not. Next up is the Nexus 6P, produced by Huawei, which is Google's flagship stock Android phone of the year and is the first Nexus phone with an all-metal design and a fingerprint sensor. It's also one of the few phones this year with a USB Type-C connector along with the Nexus 5X and the OnePlus 2. We also get a large 5.7-inch AMOLED Quad HD display which delivers those inky blacks and vivid colors. The Nexus 6P is powered by a Snapdragon 810 with 3 gigs of RAM, which moves stock Android 6.0 along really smoothly. We also finally get an excellent camera system on the Nexus phone with a 12.3 megapixel sensor, f2.0 aperture, and laser-assisted autofocusing, plus a dual-tone LED flash with 4K video recording. We also pick up an 8 megapixel 1080p camera on the front for crisp wide-angle selfies. Where the Nexus P really stands out is the battery life, with the best I've tested this year at nearly 6 hours of on-screen time at maximum brightness. Most phones this year tested an hour or two less. This is thanks partly to Android 6.0 and the DOE's battery optimization features. In the end, this is definitely the phone of the year for stock Android fans, and it's a relative bargain at only $499. LG had 2 great phones this year with the LG G4 and the LG V10, which arrived later in the year to upstage the G4, but the one I'm choosing here is the LG V10. This is yet another 5.7-inch Quad HD IPS phone with a huge vivid and crisp display, but it adds a little extra screen real estate toward the top for secondary functions like an app launcher, shortcuts, and notifications. On the back, we'll find the familiar LG layout with a center-mounted power button, which also incorporates a fingerprint scanner for the first time. We'll also find one of the best camera systems on this list with a 16 megapixel sensor, a huge f1.8 aperture, laser autofocusing, and optical image stabilization with 4K video recording. Also included is a very powerful manual mode within the camera app for both still photos and video shooting. We also have no less than 2 front-facing 5 megapixel cameras, one for standard shots and the other for wide-angle group selfies. The V10 is also powered by a Snapdragon 808 with 4 gigs of RAM, which is among the highest on smartphones today, and that really comes in handy here thanks to the software skin, which is pretty heavy on the features and options. Now, the only area this phone seems to fall short on is battery life, averaging a little more than 3 hours at maximum brightness in my testing. Thankfully, it's also the only phone on my list that still offers a removable battery. Next up is the phone with the best display and camera on my list, and that is the Samsung Galaxy Note 5. Once again, we have another 5.7-inch Quad HD phone with a stunning Super AMOLED display that is bright, vivid, and rich with deep blacks. It's also packing a 60 megapixel camera on the back with optical image stabilization, an f1.9 aperture, and 4K video recording that delivers the sharpest images and video of the year in almost all lighting conditions. It's also packing a powerful Exynos octa-core processor with 4 gigs of RAM. And like the LG V10, the software skin adds a ton of features, but Samsung has done a great job optimizing performance and design to create an attractive and smooth user experience. One of those features, of course, is the S Pen stylus, which is even more capable than ever, but can be easily stored away and forgotten if you don't need it. Just make sure you don't install it backwards. Now, while many phones here support fast charging, the Note 5 is the only one to support fast wireless charging, which is built in. I also think this is one of the best looking designs of the year, with that curved metal and glass design that is striking and a huge departure from the plastic phones Samsung is used to. Now personally, I think the best looking phone of the year is the cousin to the Note 5, which is the Galaxy S6 Edge Plus, which has a curved display and ditches the stylus, but ultimately I prefer the Note 5's form factor to the slippery, narrow sides of the Edge phones. And lastly, we have the iPhone 6s Plus. Now this brings us the same design but an all-new stronger 7000 series aluminum frame and the very powerful A9 CPU. It also bumps up the iSight camera to 12 megapixels with 4K video recording for the first time. We also have a 5 megapixel FaceTime HD camera with a Retina flash. Touch ID 2 is now much faster and we get 3D Touch, which is the most talked about feature. The display is now pressure sensitive, which adds a new dimension to the user interface design. So we get some new gestures like peek and pop to preview and open up items. This feature also works with Live Photo, a feature exclusive to the iPhone 6s phones that records a 3-second video clip integrated with a photograph. Now I think my favorite new features of the iPhone 6s would be the lightning fast Touch ID sensor, Live Photo, which turned out to be a lot more useful than I expected, and the wireless Hey Siri command, which I find myself using frequently and nobody else can invoke because it's finally trained to my voice. Less useful is 3D Touch, which I may go months without using or even remembering is there. But in the end, we're left with an improved version of an already fantastic phone with an outstanding camera, display, and battery. Of course, all the phones in my top 5 are large phones, but for those who want flagship phones in a more compact size, you should look at the iPhone 6s, Galaxy S6, or the Galaxy S6 Edge, all great phones. For those on a budget, there are many fantastic options now, but my favorites include the Moto G, Asus Zenfone 2, Alcatel One Touch Idol 3, the Blue Life 1X, and the OnePlus X. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this quick recap of my favorite phones of 2015. If you want to see the more detailed reviews, I'll leave those linked in a playlist below. And if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up to let me know, and I'll see you again in the next video.